Well, greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well, and welcome to tonight's second half. Before we jump into this terrifying upload, a couple links. As many of you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below. Merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman, Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support the channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It does not cost you a cent. Click the like button, takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads I put out daily, click that bell icon, and folks, please leave a comment. Why? Well, because all of these things really do help the channel to continue to grow and go. And yes, folks, they definitely do matter. Now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump in to today's second half, shall we? All right, guys. So today's upload is subscriber submitted experience. I started going through emails yesterday. Like I said, I still got a whole bunch to go through. A lot of photos, a lot of very interesting stuff, I can tell you that much. I need about 10 more hours in the day, which I'm sure many of you guys do as well. But I reached out to this person because the simple fact of when we think of national parks, we think of 411. We think of deep underground military bases, and for me, that's about it. A lot of people think that more UFO activity happens in them. I think possibly maybe they're seen more because of the people that are in that area camping late at night, less urban lightage. So I was like, I got to check this out. This gentleman retired from a national park in Tennessee. One of the 13. He asked me specifically not to name the national park, just simply out of respect for him, his retirement, and everything else that he's got going on. This experience happened within the last 10 to 12 years. So somewhere between 2012 to 2024. He was not a park ranger. And he explained something to me. He said, Jeff, a lot of people think that these national parks, that the park rangers see the majority of everything that goes on. He said, that's not true. He said, I worked in a national park in the state of Tennessee for 27 years of my life as a maintenance worker. As a maintenance worker, he gets to see more than the park rangers do and meet more people. He said, there are places that he showed park rangers about that they didn't know. Some that had worked there, 10, 15 years to his 20, but still they didn't know of a certain trail. They didn't know of a certain old fire road that is not in use anymore. His jobs, were picking up trash, changing trash bins, bathrooms, picking up bodies, deceased animals when they were where the public could see them, and just many other things. But he dealt with the public a lot as well. So during this period of time, that 2012 to 2024, there was a attack in one of these state parks or national parks in Tennessee, and there was a lot of commotion that went on about it because it was said that a bear had been killed along with 2 cubs. Being that he, maintenance worker, his responsibility usually, if these park rangers would go out and euthanize these bear, they'd go with them, follow along, and pick them up, then bring them to the veterinarian where they would do, I forget the name of the animal autopsy. Trying to remember what it was. He didn't tell me what it is. He used autopsy, but there's a different name for. So there's an attack, and a gentleman died. He was hiking out on some trails, and the last time he was seen was by his girlfriend's mom and dad. He had gone camping with his girlfriend and her family, and the girlfriend ended up going into town to pick up some groceries and such. And she was going to be a little while because she had to do some other things, but he went out hiking, and the next couple of hours he's not seen. So there's not much worry about it. He's an avid hiker. That's what his specialty is, hiking. That's the one thing he did. He wanted to work as a writer for a magazine, like Outdoor. That's what his aspirations were. So anytime he could go hiking, he would. So they didn't really think much of it. He had his pack with him, which he had water, a life straw. He had a flare gun with him, which a lot of people don't think about bringing with them. Per this maintenance worker gentleman, he said, if you don't have one, Jeff, that's something you probably should put in your pack, because if you get lost, and people are looking for you, you can send a distress flare up. So this guy was pretty good, Girlfriend comes back from shopping, and he's still not back. Now it's starting to get dusk. The girlfriend and the dad kind of tell the mom, hey, we're going to go. We'll be back in a half an hour. We're just going to take a walk and see, if we can locate him. Maybe he's coming back. We can meet him. And, just so we're not sitting here, we need something to do. They end up going out, nothing. They end up contacting the park rangers. Rangers decide, hey, we got, I think there was like 4 rangers on staff at that time. They called the 2 in that were not on duty. So there was 4 at the time. They all went out. Quick, let's see, we'll find him. There's been no bear attacks or any kind of strange attacks in Tennessee or fatalities in a long while. I'm sure he's fine. Maybe he got lost. So they go out. They don't have any kind of success the first night. They then contact Tennessee State Police per protocol, and they make the decision to suspend for the night the search and rescue. It's not cold. They don't see it as a major whatever, like if it was a child, they don't see it like, he's familiar with this area. He's familiar with hiking. So they suspend the search and rescue for the evening. We're going to begin first thing in the morning. We'll call in, state troopers, dogs, couple more rangers and such. And that's when he gets a call and they say, hey, we got a guy that's missing. Suspend all your duties for tomorrow. You're going to go and, drive around and see if you can, maybe see him, maybe see some sort of signs of where he might have went. Okay, I'll be there first thing in the morning, yada, yada. Gets there in the morning, meets up with everybody, and they go out. So that night before meeting up with everybody, he, because he loves his job, loves the park, and, really enjoys the public, kind of looks at a map of the park and looks at the trail system that this guy had supposedly taken. So when he goes in, they pair off. He's with a park ranger who has a rifle. They get into a side-by-side. And he says, hey, I have my map with me. Let me show you an old kind of fire road that is not in use anymore. It hasn't been used in 50 to 60 years, but there's still enough lack of growth to where we could get in there and we can, if it gets too narrow, we can walk in this fire road, will connect to the trail system that he's supposedly on in 3 different sections. Ranger's like, awesome. He was actually asked by park rangers and supervisors and such to take, classes and courses to become a ranger because he was so dedicated to his job and so familiar with the area. But he liked the job he had. You know, he got this job when he was young, a young man. So they go out and they proceed to take this fire road that, you know, gets narrower and narrower as they keep going through. And they do come to a section where there's a lot of old growth, and now there's a lot of new growth. So they get out of the side-by-side and start walking in. They're out on this. Now it's more or less a hidden kind of trail. There's a lot of growth on the ground, but the terrain used to be flat. So it's easy walking, but it's tedious because you've got new growth and stuff like that. They get to this one section where the trail would connect, and they walk out onto that one trail and they look and they kind of mark where they are. Okay. They go back in and he says, listen, okay, if he took this, he should be, you know, quite possibly there's a stream that runs between these two, and maybe he got lost, maybe he's sitting down, maybe he's waiting, maybe he broke a leg, you know. Let's check this area out, then we'll come back, take the trail back to the side-by-side, and rejoin the search on a different trail system. So they get to the last connect where, and when I say like the road runs like this and the trail kind of parallels the fire road. So it's literally maybe 100 feet walking into the woods, and then you're connected to the trail. They walk out, and as they're walking through the brush, they notice a piece of clothing that's on the ground. And the ranger says, you know, what was the guy wearing? You know, question. So they radioed in, hey, you know, was he wearing like a greenish flannel shirt? Yes. Comes to find out. Okay. Well, we right now are in this section. We found what we think might be a piece of his shirt. We're going to go continue towards this stream. How far are you guys? You know, where are you guys located? We're on a different trail system. We're over here. We can connect with you in about 45 minutes. Let us know. We're going to still, you know, keep looking just in case. So they get to this stream section and they start to notice prints in the soft dirt, soft mud coming from the way they just came. It had been rainy for like a week or two before these guys went camping. It didn't rain since, but the mud, the ground was still moist. So when you stepped into it, you'd get a track. You know, it wasn't dry, hard packed clay. They see these prints, and the strides are like he's running. And so they're like, hey, I think, this is his prints. Let's follow him. They didn't radio in. They're just talking amongst themselves. And they start to follow him, and then they kind of lose the tracks. But they keep going the way they thought they'd be going. They're now about 15 minutes from where they saw the first couple of tracks. And they're now in old growth. They're in like a deep part of the old growth forest. And they start to hear kind of this growl, consumption, he explained it with like a large dog, when a large dog is eating its meal and someone startles that dog, that growl that you get. But it sounded more moist. It was a really disgusting kind of sound. A sound that he said he'll never, ever forget for the rest of his life. They both look at each other and, absolute kind of fear and confusion. Like, hey, what would be making this kind of noise? It sounds like it's up ahead a ways, but not that far. So they start to, slow down a little bit. The park ranger chambers around. He's got a 45-70 lever action rifle. So he chambers around, and they come up to a section where the noise is kind of maybe 15, 20 feet ahead of them. They can hear it real clear. But once again, it's old growth, so they can't get a visual, but they can sort of see something moving about 20 feet ahead of them, but 15 to 20 feet in the air, in a tree. So they're now real confused because, yes, bear can climb, but a black bear wouldn't, climb up a tree and ravenously eat, just real gross sounding. They take a couple more steps, and what they see is in this tree about 20 feet in the air, there's a large kind of branch. It's a huge, huge old pine tree. And like when he explained the size of the tree, he said, you could not put your arms around the tree. It was just a really old growth tree. The limb that this thing was on was a good size, a large new growth tree sized limb. So strong enough to hold the weight of this creature and a carcass. What they see is this creature. At first, they see a body hanging off the tree branch. It looks, at first they thought the body was stomach down on the branch, and whatever was, they were thinking bear. But when they made contact, they were like, that's not a bear. That's the same color as a bear, almost the same size as a bear, but not as girthy, not as fat as a bear. This thing is clearly in shape, not muscular bodybuilder, but in shape. basketball runner shape, just solid looking. And both of them stop before this thing has even noticed them. They're standing behind a couple of old trees, and they're watching this, trying to figure exactly what in the heck they're looking at. And that's when they realize that the body is not stomach down on the branch, but the body is back down. So his back was like this on that tree, and it was consuming the soft tissue of his stomach. What they then see is a tail hanging off the side of this large branch. And they look at each other with this kind of shock and awe, but with just disgust and terror. Like, okay, we have a gun, but what in the hell is that thing? Just as they are kind of communicating quietly and without vocalization, but whispers, the radio goes off and the thing pops its head up. And instantly when that thing popped its head up, he said it looked like a kind of like a dog would. When a dog is digging a hole or a dog is doing something and it's startled, it just popped its head up and looked around. Ears sticking straight up. It had the coloration was this dark brownish black, no gray, no any kind of stripes or anything, just this dark color creature. And he remembers looking at its eyes, and its eyes were this, like, he said, honey colored. They were like this yellowish honey color. And the sun was not directly on them, but how it hit them, they just looked like this really beautiful color of yellow. Because it was day, he said, I don't know if they were glowing, but if they were, it would still probably be that same color. It lets out this growl, and kind of it's still sitting there. The body's still laying there. It's got one hand kind of on the hiker's stomach and one hand kind of up, like ready to pop up. So it's, like this, looking, growling, and it catches them. They literally watched how it caught them. Like, right on them. When this creature caught them and they got its attention, it narrowed. He said, you couldn't see anything other than its eyes just pinpoint right on us. He said, like a missile, you felt the eyes. And right as it was starting to raise up, the park ranger took a shot and racked another, took another shot, hitting it both. Square, dead center in the chest. It, like that, bang, bang, as fast as you can rack a lever action, which is pretty quick. Even with a 45-70 in the kick, if you are used to shooting that round, there's going to be maybe 2-3 seconds delay, especially to get realigned on your target. So quick succession, bam, bam. And it kind of falls back a little, but it's still holding on to the body. And the maintenance worker says, shoot it again. And the park ranger does. And when he does, he hits it in the muzzle. And they watched its muzzle just like that. He said it separated in an up and down and side to side way, and it's dropped. But when it dropped, it still had a hold of the body, and it pulled the body down with the Dogman. And that's what it was. It was a Dogman. It had a tail, clearly. The park ranger looks at him and just says, what in the hell did we just shoot? They walk up to it. He's behind the park ranger. Park ranger's got the rifle. And they get to it. They poke it, kind of kick it, like, what the hell? They're trying to figure out what this thing is. And he said, when we got close enough to it, he said, we smelled just this wretched stink. He said, I don't know if it was the body of the dead hiker, because his insides, his gut was ripped open. So obviously there's going to be fecal matter and intestinal matter. On top of it being out in the daytime, heat of Tennessee summer. Well, it was August. And, or if it was this thing. And they're just, kind of like, ugh, real bad. Park ranger radios in and says, to one of the other park rangers, hey, any of my guys switch to this channel. If you have anyone with you that's not personnel that can be trusted, walk away. Let me know when you're ready. We just shot something, but we found the hiker and he's dead. So they end up getting the body from the hiker. They get the hiker and they go back to the ranger station. They contact coroner. State police are there as well. And the state police then contact Department of Fish and Game, because these guys said, we don't know what we shot. Could have been a bear, but I don't never seen a bear with a tail. And they left the body of the creature out there because they didn't know what to do. They were baffled at what was going on. Coroner takes the hiker. The hiker's family obviously goes. And the decision is made to close off a section of the park. Not the whole park, but a section of it. so they can handle this without any kind of blowback. And so then superiors are called. It was a shit show from the way this guy had said everything. You had, he always thought, yes, there's always someone higher up than this ranger, but he didn't know how high up it went when things like this happened. What happens next is the state police and the federal fish and game get together, and the state police are told to mark this off as a bear attack. It was a bear, and that's what it's going to be. State police command is like, was it a bear? Really? What the hell? And 2 days, 3 days go by, and it's all red tape. It's literally almost like you've got one agency not knowing what the hell to do. You got this agency not knowing what to do. And, it really made a lot of sense to me, because I was like, this really does make a lot of sense, because you hear these outlandish stories that, this was called in and immediately and da-da-da-da-da. But it was like no one knew what the fuck to do. And finally, the federal fish and game, they had brought this body out of the woods and transported it to who knows where. But then days, like I just said, a couple days go by of red tape and bureaucracy. No one knows what to say except nothing. Bear attack. That's what it was. That's what it was decided upon. Okay. They just start there's talk amongst each other. And around the fourth day, they decide to open the park, that section of park up. There's a meeting. Everyone that participated in the search and rescue, and anyone that may have saw the creature, was told to be at. And it was, not, I have something to do. You are going to be there. You're going to be at this meeting. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. They get to the ranger station, and he is the only maintenance worker that was involved in the search and rescue, just because of his experience and his knowledge of the park and being seniority. So 2 of the state police officers are there, and the 4 park rangers. 2 federal fish and game officers are holding this meeting. So everyone is under the assumption that these 2 federal fish and game are in charge, and we're going to figure out what we shot. They're going to tell us, because they, took the body. They probably did I think it's a necropsy. Necropsy is the word for it. Necropsy. I believe that's the word for an autopsy for an animal. So the meeting starts. And no sooner does it start than door opens. And two men wearing either dark blue or black suits walk in. And I say dark blue because he doesn't remember one way or another. All he remembers is they were dark. So the two men end up introducing themselves as Department of Homeland Security, or the Fish and Game officers introduce them as Homeland Security. The Fish and Game, Federal Fish and Game, pass out these non-disclosure forms. As of the first 5 minutes, the Homeland Security guys are just standing there. No acknowledgement, no anything. The Federal Fish and Game officers are handling the conversation, supplying the information. This is what you need to sign. This is what the animal was. The animal was a mutant bear, biologically mutated bear. Some bullshit excuse was given for the tail. And, periodically there has been known to have bear with tail. It's very rare, but periodically. And that's what you guys shot that day. And there's kind of a look of like bullshit on two of the park rangers, the one that shot it and the other one that was upper seniority. And the maintenance worker is kind of like looking at everything, and he's keeping an eye on the two guys. And apparently one of the Department of Homeland Security guys notices the kind of look of mistrust or whatever, and just says, addresses the two rangers, park rangers, by their first and last name, and just simply said, that's what it is. That's what it was. Sign the papers. Keep your job. That's it. No threats, no nothing. Sign the paper, keep your job. In a very monotone voice. Papers are signed, and no questions asked. So, meeting kind of wraps up. Federal Fish and Game leave. These two guys leave. And there's just the two state troopers, the 4 park rangers, and him. And they're all like, that wasn't a bear. What what fuck was that? Wasn't a bear. Why are they, and why are we signing a non-disclosure? Obviously they know that he was killed. The families didn't see what killed him, but, why are we? A lot of discussion. He said, well, I'm going to sign it. I'm done. I'm going to go do my job. So he leaves the park ranger's office and they say goodbye to him. The state troopers leave. And he goes to the maintenance building, which is about a mile and a half from the ranger station. It's just like a garage with an office in the back. A large kind of 3-tiered garage. And he gets in to start looking at what he's going to do with his day, but it's still in the back of his head, like, what the hell was that? And no sooner did he get into his office and start, looking at the details for the day and what he needed to do. Because mind you, like it's the end of summer, so there is things to do. Fall is still kind of a busy time for people. Senior citizens go through and look at the leaves and stuff. And as he's in his office and he turns around because he hears the door open behind him, and in walks one of the Department of Homeland Security agents. And during the whole meeting, those two Department of Homeland Security agents were wearing sunglasses. He's not, at this point, wearing sunglasses. So when he turns around, he just immediately first sees the silhouette of this Homeland Security officer, or Homeland Security, officer, in his suit. But then he looks at his face and he realizes there's no sunglasses. And the first thing that catches him is this vertically slit pupil. And he looks like, clearly he stops everything with terror in his face. And the agent looks at him and just says, remember you signed a non-disclosure agreement. If you value your job and your life, you will keep to that. That's it. Nothing more. No other, if you value your job and your life, you'll keep to it. He's staring dead at this guy, and all of a sudden, right after he said that, like split second, his eyes are like everybody else's again. And he kind of just stands there and shakes his head. Doesn't say anything, and the guy turns around and walks out of his office. Did he go in purposely without his sunglasses to threaten him with the vertically aligned pupil, reptilian-like pupil? So he never spoke of it. Big reason why he used such a broad is because he still remembers exactly. He remembers the second he heard that door and he turned around, and what he saw was the legs first, and then he looked up, because he was looking at his clipboard. So he turns and he looks up and he sees those eyes, and then he hears that monotone voice. And then the eyes go back to normal. After that is when he started to research things on his own. A lot of the things that he started to research was, wow, that was weird. My computer just rebooted itself. A lot of things that he started to research were NWO, Reptilian, Men in Black, Alien, deep underground military bases. Then as time goes by, he becomes familiar with the 411. And he thinks that whatever this guy was, the government uses these people use it loosely as a deterrent for anyone talking when they see something. Like, too many people saw something? Okay. We will make our appearance in front of the 7 people that witnessed this, and then we'll go visit you individually to remind you why not to say anything. Because he, a couple days later, being that he works with these 4 other park rangers, said, hey, I got a visit that same day. Did you? And the park ranger goes, I really don't want to talk about it. We can't really talk about it, can we? Pretty much like, we can't, why are you talking about it? You saw the same thing I did. So essentially, his belief is that these men in black are used by the dark government to control the narrative of anything they want, anything that's unexplained, anything that's paranormal, supernatural, other than, like ghost hunting and ghost stuff. But like when it comes to 411, when it comes to unexplained animal attack, when it comes to whatever that doesn't fall in that realm of paranormal but is unexplained. And I never even knew that. I don't know why, but it struck me as weird. Like, I didn't realize that these large parks employ maintenance workers. But then again, it makes sense, because who the hell is going to, pick up the trash? Who's going to paint the bathrooms and the shower rooms and stuff like that when they have them? There's a lot of parks that do have them and a lot of parks that don't. But they all have a maintenance worker. They may have a maintenance crew. And they are essential to that park. And I just thought it was interesting but this guy is he went down the rabbit hole. And, we talked for a while. But his real belief is, and he said, Jeff, I really think that you're on to something about the crawlers. He said, because when I think about what crawlers look like, when that gentleman used loosely, walked into my office garage, the back end of the garage where my office is, he said, if I were to imagine what a reptilian would look like, it would be like, or a crawler, it would be like that guy's face, but less human. The eyes, the pale skin. He didn't have jagged teeth or anything, but he had pale skin and just unbelievably creepy and freaky eyes. It was pretty awesome talking to him. He still to this day talks to the park ranger. They're still good friends. That's why he just wanted to use a broad, don't use my name, don't use the park, don't use the year, just use this. And he honestly thinks that, the narrative is being controlled on a lot of these, like Tony Aaron's Amber Miller, the Tennessee. He said Tennessee is a hot spot with the amount of
national parks, 13 national parks that are huge, that are pretty friggin' big in a state that is the majority of national parks. If you really think about like volume of land. And I said, do you think these things are aliens? Is that what you think? And he said, no, I think they are genetically human and alien. And I said, that makes a lot of sense. And he said, I think that when we were warned about, and he got deep when he said, when we were warned about I wasn't going to share this part. When we were warned about the military-industrial complex, when Eisenhower made that speech and this and that, he said, I think that even Eisenhower knew what these people were because they were here, and quite possibly he saw them. And he knew years before what it would be like, that these labs were creating. Maybe that's why all that shit went down in Nightmare Hall, was to create these men in black to keep people silenced. And, they work for this company, government company, Department of Homeland Security. Yes, they probably have, more than likely, have 75% of human workers. But that 25%, when shit gets, crazy and they don't want the public to find out, they use these guys. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. Man, it was a deep conversation. It was just, I know that you guys are on the same level and same thinking that I am on this. So it's a lot scarier than we thought. These, Dogman is one thing, man. Bigfoot is another. But when they start making genetic humans to threaten humans, genetic monsters, and legit, Nightmare Hall, when that war went down and they saw these like breeding humans in like a cow, a woman, like a feeding cow, with, yeah, it made a lot of sense to me. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. It was pretty intense. It took me for a loop, it really did. And it's some pretty scary shit. Because, if you really just stop and think about what he experienced and what others have experienced, it really does fit together. Crazy thing is 6-7 months ago, there was a Boy Scout troop, an Eagle Scout trying to get his badge, or a Life Scout trying to get his Eagle badge, doing his project. And they saw and were chased by a Dogman. And they were threatened by something quite similar. And I brought that up. I said, I 6 months ago did an upload about these Boy Scouts that were threatened. And it was very reptilian, human-like.
All right, folks, that was tonight's second half. This is nothing new. The government has long since made pacts with these entities, these Dracos, these reptilian creatures, why not have them in our government, working with the government to see what people know? It makes sense to me. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. I'd like to thank you all for supporting the channel. It is, after all, your support that keeps the channel growing and going. And honestly, what gives people a chance and a place to share their experiences, theories, and judgment-free, just simply treated with the respect we all deserve. Guys, stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on our children, pets, family, and friends. These creatures are real. They are out there and dangerous. Share this information with those you love and care about, and it may just help save their lives someday. Until next time, never stop asking questions. Never stop searching for the truth. And God bless.